Okay, everything is live and we're recording. The first committee is planning and zoning. Everything is live, we're recording. The first committee is planning and zoning. So, Mr. Burley, if you're ready, I only have about 10 seconds worth of stuff.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah,
You're ready.
all I have is the reminders on here. There's nothing new. I don't know if Mr. Corbel later on will have something about silversmiths under committee of the whole, so we're just going to hold off on that. Just want to remind you too that you had put sidewalk inspection on there. We didn't really resolve where that was going. So I'm not sure exactly when, but if you remember, that was the tail end of the good weather, and you had talked about instituting that once the good weather came back, and it will probably be back again in about a month. So just want to remind you about that. But other than that, I have nothing to report unless somebody has something for me.
Don, are you going to say anything about the sidewalks?
Not this evening, but that'll be in the future.
I do want to have attention to that because it's part of our active transportation plan. A sidewalk assessment is required as part of that project. So I hope we do have a schedule to work on that, and we'll be coordinating it with our consultants. We have two guys working with us to help do that. So we should be in touch with David DeJoya to find out how to coordinate that sidewalk inspection with your efforts as well.
I will do that.
Okay. You have his contact, I think, right?
I do, yes.
Good.
I just wanted to let you know, Patty, that the email that you sent me back on February the 21st from a resident that was complaining about sidewalk snow removal. If you remember that, I reached out to that individual and he's very satisfied. His problem was between Newport and Laurel Gardens Apartments.
Yeah.
He was having a problem there. So he was glad that I called him, and I think that we got that resolved.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, pardon me?
I'm saying no, continue, please.
Okay.
Mhm.
Patty, I also talked to Andrew Lample
Yes.
with the Sustainable Pittsburgh. I put him onto our zoning manager, and he is also very satisfied. So
Good.
I took care of that. In the month of January and February, I issued 21 violations for various things, snow removal, garbage, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much handled. As far as tree and shrub goes, we had a enormous pin oak come down on 11 Bryn Mawr. It was scheduled to be removed anyway because the tree was very badly rotted. So the tree came down, and immediately I called Crosper and told them to hold up on everything that they were doing and take care of that tree situation. Thank God it missed the house. It just fell on his property, and he's very satisfied also. As far as pruning goes, they should be wrapping that up this week, and then they are going to start on the removals. So that's all I have to report this evening.
Okay, thanks, Don. Anything else, Patty or
Okay.
Tom?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. Okay. If there's nothing else, we're done.
Okay, I will go to finance in a few seconds, and I know that Frank Lipinski and Dennis Hutt are both here from Ameriserve. I'll get them on as soon as I get to finance, if you'll give me a few seconds here. Okay, Mr. Marco, I'm ready to go. Mr. Gorel is the only other one here from your committee. As I mentioned, Mr. Ergeldinger is away.
Yeah, he's away.
So
think we can proceed.
if you're okay, I'm going to activate Mr. Lipinski from Ameriserve. I'm not sure if Mr. Hunt and Mr. Lipinski need to be activated, but I'll start Mr. Lipinski first.
Okay.
Frank, are you there? I have you muted right now if you're there, Frank.
He's on the screen. I presume all council
All
members.
right, there I am.
I presume
Okay,
council
does-
members received their AmeriServe reports in your mailboxes or otherwise, is that correct?
well, I'm going to show it on screen. Frank, does Dennis need to be active too?
You can if you wish.
Okay, hold on. Okay, Dennis, I have you activated to speak as well. So Frank, let me know when you're ready and I'll start sharing my screen to show your handout.
Well, good evening to all. Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead, Steve. You want to share the handout? Okay, so the first page that you have on the screen that you're looking at is the police pension performance report. And if you look at the pie up in the left-hand corner, you'll see that the greatest color shaded in that pie is green, which is equity. At the end of the year, we had about 62% in the stock market. That falls in line with our 50 to 60% balanced objective. So if we take a look down in the right-hand corner, there's two columns. We'll start out with the year-to-date. Starting with the year-to-date column, the accounts started at $8,666,347 at the beginning of the year. Net contributions last year, that's any money coming in versus any money leaving, of a negative $3,125. The account had a very strong return. It made $1,749,220 for all of 2020 to end up with $10,412,442. That was a 20.65% last year versus the markets of 15.33. Again, a very, very strong year. If you take a look at 19 right next to it, we could just take a look at the net investment change, which is the third number down there. Once again, the account had strong returns of $1,742,565. That was a 25.44% for 19. So 2 years in a row, the account performed extremely well. Next page, Steve. Now this is from inception. So the inception, Steve, if you can move that down just a little bit to show the bottom of the footer. A little more, there you go. Okay, there you go. So the inception of this account, we started managing this account, which is at the very bottom of the page, 8/31/2009. So on 8/31, going back up to that, those numbers in the middle at the column there, the account started out on 8/31/09 at $3,914,392. Money coming in the whole entire time from 09, we dished out $1,102,507. The account generated $7,600,558 to end up at $10,412,000. That was 11.15% annually earned over 11 years. Any questions? We can move on past the holdings, Steve. We can keep going through there. Okay, now here, oh, there you go. One more page. There you go. Keep going there. Right there. Okay, now we have the employee's pension. Again, both these accounts I manage very, very similar. So if you look at the pie up in the left-hand corner, 62.1% was green, which is the equity market at the end of last year. Down in the right-hand corner, the year-to-date, this account started out last year with $3,177,244. Money coming in versus money leaving, a net outflow of $47,257. The account made over $640,378 in 2020 to end up at $3,777,000. That was a 20.78% return. Did extremely well also. 19, if you look at the net investment change, it made $644,631, and that was 25.42. Any questions on those two? And finally, the next page over, Steve, if you would, please. The inception date. Now, this one is also back in 09. We start out with $1,646,420. Net outflows for the 11 years roughly was $810,024. The total net investment change was $2,933,000. end up at 3,770,000. Again, 11.24 annually over the last 11 years. Any questions on those two accounts?
Very, very well done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I know you operate with a fairly conservative investment strategy, and I think your approach has been very productive for us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll continue to do a good job. Dennis, you have anything you need to add, Dennis?
I do not. Just want to thank you for your business and your time and the opportunity to meet with you folks. Look forward to working with y'all.
Anybody have anything else for them before I unshare my screen here? I don't want to do that if you have any other questions. No?
Oh, I don't.
Okay. Thank you, Frank and Dennis. I'm going to toss you out
Thank
if you
you.
don't mind.
No, it's okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you all. Have a
Okay.
good evening.
All right,
Thank you
bye-bye.
very much. Mhm.
Okay. I had them under my report, so I'm going to continue with me if you're okay with that.
Yes, please.
Because I screwed up for some people, apparently what I sent out as a way of handouts, I'm going to be showing my screen a little bit more often tonight. With the finance and committee, the whole both, I accidentally sent out the preliminary one without the handouts. I sent it again, but I'm not sure if everybody got it. So just to go to cash flow. Whoops, I will in a second, that is, hold on. I've given you cash flow for the first 2 months, and you can look at the numbers there. Now, I'm not 100% sure how accurate everything is because, as you know, everything got slowed down because of the pandemic, because of getting 2020 closed out, et cetera. But I'm pretty sure these numbers are okay. And on the chart, the red line is the current year. I have it compared with 5 other years, just so you can take a look at it. And if you look at where we stand in February with a negative 95,000, that's about average for this time of year. Again, it's in negative numbers because taxes don't start coming in, but we borrow from ourselves. We don't use a tax anticipation note. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but this is just a point in time. It's not, it doesn't mean that we were short 95,000 necessarily right now. It just means that at that point in time that the picture was taken at the end of February 28th, it was a negative 95. This is typical for municipalities for the first quarter of the year, in case anybody's watching us on YouTube. And as you can see, the red line here is right in the middle of these other lines. And if I went back even further, you'd see we're even better off than some other years. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I'll pause for a moment in case you do.
Yeah, you don't have December of 2020 closed out yet, right? We're still working on closing out the books.
Well, if you look down below, 2020 is showing right here.
Oh,
And
that's,
I don't have it. I didn't print it for you. It's going to be in the budget book, which I'll talk about in a minute. But
okay.
we ended up with that much at the end of the year, 569,000 plus as a positive number.
Okay, I
Again,
was looking at the
that
wrong
was,
line. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
I was looking at the wrong line. I was looking at the blue and the orange lines, which are prior years. It's no big deal.
Yeah, black is 2020.
Okay.
And again, that doesn't mean we have 500 some $1,000. It means that at that point in time when I took the picture of 12/31, that's how much we have. To realize bills were still coming in for 2020 that would have been paid in January, but would have been assigned to 2020. And don't forget, the auditor will do even more of that when they come in, find corrections or changes, things they don't agree with it that we might have put into 2021 that should have stayed in 2020. But it's still a positive number. It's going to be a positive number regardless. We really haven't had we've only had one negative number, I think, at the end of a year in the 20 years I've been here. And I'm sure that's true. I'm not saying that because of me. I'm sure that that's true for the past as well. Forest Hills has been pretty good financially overall. So does anybody else have any questions about the chart or about the cash flow? Okay. I'll close that out and move on. I have two more items. 2021 budget is almost completely on the website now. There's only a couple of things I don't have on there yet. And most of that is copies of ordinances or resolutions. I don't have my statistics section on there. That's the one that takes me the longest to format. Again, it's just a formatting issue. And of course, normally I'm not this late with a budget book, and I apologize, but everything is on the website except for a couple of things that are informational. So if you go to our website, and I probably should have loaded that up to show you, but Angelo has done a great job putting everything on there. And so all this, the numbers, revenues, expenditures for general fund, the different funds like fire fee and liquid fuels and corrective action, all of that's on there. There's some detail. My budget message is on there. There are some statistics in there. So you can take a look at that if you want to take a look at the current year's budget. I hope to get the books printed within the next week. Again, it's just a question of, I have about 17 more pages of statistics to put in that I had to wait for some changes at the end of the year to implement. That's the one that takes me the longest. It's also a formatting thing, trying to fit those charts and graphs in there. Anybody have any questions about that? I know I'm not talking about numbers, I'm just talking about formatting, but please take a look at our website, foresthillspa.org. And anybody who may be watching this on YouTube, same thing, foresthillspa.org, go up to the government tab and you will see the a place to find financial data, and the budget is on there. And it's only missing a few informational items in the middle, but all the spreadsheet budget numbers are there. Okay. All right. Item D. I'm sorry. I think I have two more items on here. Yeah, I do. Item D. I present this to you just to read. This is too much information to talk about tonight, but let me explain what's going on. Separately for council, I sent you a confidential document from the actuary. The actuary is asking to change the way they handle investment returns, and that could affect our MMO. So when we got that toward the end of February, I talked to Mr. Tomasik about it as council president first. And before he could even get any further, he said, just make sure Mike Palumbo sees it right away. So I didn't even bring it up with anybody else then. I let Mike Palumbo take a look at it. And he provided the information you see in the notes I gave you, which I highlighted. He's suggesting that we want to ask the actuary a couple of questions. And he said there's no right or wrong answer to this. The actuary is following what is permissible as far as their national association is concerned, which I can't recall. AV, no, what is that called? I don't remember. Anyway, they're following that recommendation, and that could mean that we would have a greater impact as far as pension costs. So if you look further down my notes after the yellow highlights, probably on the next page, you'll see that Mockenhop sent us a checklist where they're asking for you to consider the letter I sent you. I sent you that separate because it was confidential. Then they're asking you to select one of the three choices that are at the top of page 2 there. The paragraph starts out under Act 205 of 1984, and there are three choices that they ask you to pick from. One where you accept what their assumptions are, and another one where you ask them to come in and discuss, etc. So you need to take a look at that letter. You need to read Mike Palumbo's comments, and then I would put it, and by the way, I did what Mike had asked. His recommendation was to ask if they could make some adjustments from a point of view of what they reported to us and give us a couple of alternatives. And you can read that in his notes. I'm not going to explain that right now. So I did ask them to do that, and we haven't gotten anything back from them yet because I just did that recently. I only got Mike's information a few days ago. So no one's slow on this or anything, but whatever they do, whatever you folks decide to accept or not accept from them will affect how they calculate the MMO later on in the year. And MMO, for anybody who may be watching on YouTube that's not participating in the meeting, that means the minimum municipal obligation, which the borough is required to pay for both pension plans. It actually includes my pension, which is separate too, which is actually a bonus because that means we get a little bit more money in state aid. So it's one case where I'm not costing the borough money. I'm actually helping the borough a little bit by you putting money into my pension plan. So in any case, the minimum municipal obligation, though, is something they calculate every September to let the borough know what we owe to the pension plans, the police and the non-uniform, to make them essentially to make up any negatives or any deficits or whatever, what have you, that might be there. This is normal. It's not anything that's unusual. It also is used to calculate state aid that comes to us. And I'm not going to go into any great detail. We talked about pensions late last year, but they are, the obligation is increasing and pensions are becoming an issue, and mainly more so police than non-uniform because they have a heavier legal implication as far as how things are calculated. So that's not to say anything about the police. It's just that's the way it is. That's the way the law is written, a little bit different for them than just for other people. So that's why it's important to take a look at this. So I'm going to put this whole section back on the Finance Committee agenda next month. You should look at that letter I sent you, and then if I get any reply from Mock and Hop, I will send that to you as well. And then you have to review that and decide whether you want to accept or ask for some more information or ask them to come. Mike Palumbo said he'd be happy to consult with you. And I know Mock and Hop, Colleen Deere or one of the other people over there would be more than happy to consult too. Does anybody have any questions in case I didn't explain that well enough?
I do. There's a charge of $600 for a study of the impact on the MMO of the issues that Palumbo asked to raise. Do we have to assure that they get that before we request this study?
Where are you seeing that?
It's on item number 2 on the second page at the bottom of item number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We'd like to see an actuarial study of the recommended assumptions to know the impact of the changes on the funded status of the plan and the estimated MMO before making a decision. I would like to see that study.
Well,
So,
that's something you need to wait until you review the letter and make a recommendation on the 3 things that are on there.
well, I think it would be helpful to have the assessment of what the impact is before we have to make a decision about it.
Well, okay, council would need then to vote to approve number 2 as your choice. And that would be something on March 24th. That's why I'm bringing this to you. It's not something that I can decide or anybody can decide by themselves. It has to be by vote of council.
I think it'd be impossible for us to make a decision without seeing the effect on the MMO. Bill.
Thank you. Patty, if you look at,
Realize I just got this today.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody did.
If you look at, so did we all. If you look at the letter that is written by Mr. Palumbo, he states that
I don't have that letter.
this right here.
It's on it's in yellow.
Oh, that's the
Stuff.
yellow part. Okay.
Yeah.
Email letter, I'm sorry. But he states that as a result, there is not a right answer to the question of whether you should do this. And there is no guarantee that the actuary suggestion will be proved to be correct either over time. I have been dealing with this stuff since I came on council, and as many times as I've read it over and looked at all these reports over the years, I still don't understand it. It's just all these assumptions, and things can change at any time. So my position would be, rather than go through this, again, this is just my opinion, I would just accept what the actuarial is recommending and go with that. And then if anything goes sour or goes south, I would point to their recommendation and say, this is what we were told to do. And that's basically what I have, my position has been over the years on these items. That the recommendation comes in, we follow that recommendation, and if questioned, our statement is we did what we were told was the right thing to do. So that would be my position. I am not saying you shouldn't look into it anymore if you want to, but I just don't see any real final formulation on it from my point of view. And again, I'm only speaking from my own point of view and not suggesting anything else to any other council member. I would like to ask Mr. Corbel what his thoughts were about this, if he would want to respond.
I mean, Bill, I'm sorry, my camera is having some problems right now. I would defer to Mike Palumbo's approach, quite frankly. I don't disagree with it. You know, I don't know what else you want me to say. Like, I think he lays it out pretty, it's up to council if you want to spend the money to do the study to figure out which way to go. It's only
Okay.
$600.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Corbel.
Well,
I'm sorry. Thank you, Patty.
Well, let me add something too, okay? If this were something that was of immediate need to know, I would send out stuff piece by piece as I got it. But this is something does not necessarily need a decision this month. It can, if you want, as Mr. Tomasic is recommending, but you don't have to. So when people say to me, this is the first I'm seeing this, yes, that's what I look at committees to do. Otherwise, to me, a committee is useless. If I'm going to introduce something to everybody, it's easier to do it here at committee, give you all my notes, give you everything, and say, here, read this. If you notice, I did not say you needed to make any kind of recommendation right now, and you don't, unless you want to follow Mr. Tomasic. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not saying he's wrong. But I just want to make it clear that if it were something that was an emergency, I would have given this to you back on February 22nd when the actuarial letter first came in. But I needed to get some steps done, and I realized there was no immediate need that anything had to be done. I do that with a lot of things in committees. So everybody who's listening to me, and Mr. Erbaldinger is not here, but I just want to be clear that if it's something that I need to distribute to everybody for you to look at, I give you time. If it's an emergency, I let you know it's an emergency. It's not in this case. It's something you need to decide.
I think, we are being told that there could be some adjustments that are going to affect our MMO. And I would like to have a better understanding of the nature of those changes and the amount of an effect it's going to have on our MMO before we make a decision. So if it would be possible for them to give us that actuarial study, it would be very helpful to me. Even if we decide to accept their recommendations, I'd rather make that decision knowing what the impact is on our obligations rather than just judging, on Mr. Palumbo's judgment and say so. I really would appreciate having a chance to look at it if you don't mind. Yeah, Bill.
Well, then I have no problems with going with number 2.
Yeah. I mean, we're not making a decision right yet in either case,
no.
but to say that to have us have in hand the information that would be relevant to let us know how big of an effect it's going to have on our MMO one way or the other. I'd just like to know that going in. Not that we can do anything about it, but just for planning purposes, it would be.
I would support that. I have no problems with that.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so then what if
You asked Mr. Mockenhop do the actuarial study that would
Well-
give us the information about the impact of those assumptions?
What I have to do is put it on March 24th for you to vote on this.
All right,
So I will put on March 24th with you voting to accept the second item. I'll have a motion on finance with that second item worded exactly as it is pretty much. And then if council votes yes, that's the one you choose, and that's what I send off to them. And then they go from there.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Mhm.
So I'll vote, we'll vote on that on the 24th. Anybody else, any questions or issues with this Mockenhaupt information? I have one more item that has a couple of things in it. Okay. Just my outstanding items for 2021, the reminder about all the different things that have to be decided this year. I'm not going to go into that right now because they really apply to other committees. Trash applies to ops, police and public works service for shell fund applies to those two committees, et cetera. But this is just a reminder phase again, that these things all need to be decided this year. And you can, you know, we've already talked about trash extensively, so I'm not going to go into that either. But the second point that's there, council had approved the motion to authorize us to extend payment deadlines through March 31st for borough fees without penalty. There's two reasons why I wanted to call your attention, three reasons. This is March and the 31st is coming up in a few weeks. Second, Allison needs to know what you want to do because she's the one who handles a lot of this billing. And if you notice on your notes, I have a recommendation for her. She'd like to have an extension of at least one more month because fire fee bills are due on March 31st. And that means if you would not extend it, immediately the next day, anybody who might have been a day or two late is going to get penalized. That not giving them any time, not giving them even a grace period, which we sometimes do. And of course, the third reason I wanted to show it to you is because I attached a letter from Wilkinsburg Penn, the water authority, just to let you know that they are immediately going to begin water shutoffs, et cetera, starting April 1st. So I wanted you to see that for a couple of reasons. One, because it compares to what we're doing, and two, because you should know that they're going to start doing that. Allison is not insisting it goes any longer, and necessarily that's up to you, of course. She's just requesting that, and I'd have to have a motion on there if you were going to extend it by a month, a week, a day, whatever. I just need to know what your feeling is on that.
Beth, pleasure of any of my members of the committee. I have no problem extending it for 1 month at this point. Does anyone object to that? Hearing no objections,
No?
please put a motion on for March 24th to extend our no fine period for 1 month.
So extend through April 30th.
Yes.
Okay, that will be on the agenda on the 24th. I don't have anything else right now for my report, but a couple of things coming up here on this agenda I will be commenting on. So you can move to the second item now.
I do want to note the Environment Advisory Council is providing input on the trash contract. They have a number of people reviewing it, and they will be discussing that on the 18th of March. If any of you are interested, they will be reporting out after their meeting, after they've had a chance to look at it. May we have a discussion of the equipment purchase request from Public Works?
I think Jimmy is here with Mr. Thielacker, Mr. Tom Thielacker, right?
Jimmy?
You would ask me to put these two things on from Public Works. That was a request that you made, Ms. DeMarco, at the Public Works Committee meeting. So I threw both of them on here. To replace truck 72 and the John Deere.
Yeah. We were asking for authorization to purchase a John Deere riding tractor out of the capital improvements budget, and also to sell the old tractor and to replace truck number 72 in a 5-year lease program. And I wanted to know if the committee has any objections to putting that forward. No comments? Okay. Then we could recommend putting that on the agenda for March 24th, please.
If that's so, I mean, I would put it back under Public Works again for approval if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I
Sure.
don't see any objection to doing that. I think we have the wherewithal to do that. I think it's appropriate. And I wanted to bring it to Finance Committee if anyone had any comments. Marcus isn't here. We're not hearing any other input.
So this would authorize Mr. Thielacker, Mr. Jim
Yeah.
Thielacker to work toward replacing truck 72 and selling the old one, and also to purchase the John Deere.
John
And
Deere.
I'll talk to him about how we're doing that, whether it's by bid or by co-stars or what have you. I don't know if you have any information on that right now, Jim, or
No, if anybody's any questions, I'm here.
okay, well then I'll talk to you about how to word the motion for the March 24th meeting later. There's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it for item number 2 then.
Okay. Then we had a number of issues related to the bond purchase. And I wanted to inquire if any of you have input on that. We don't need to make that decision right this moment. But I did want to give you a chance to bring that up and talk about any items there that you think we should put priority on. Now, of course, I can't find my page.
Can I share my screen here a
Yeah,
minute?
please, that would help. I have so much paper on my desk.
Okay, just to make it easier for people, I took the capital improvements plan for 2021 and I cut out and put here on these 2 pages that are attached to the Finance Committee, all those items that could be bond issue items should you pick them. As far as I could tell, after consulting with Jim Thielacker as well and others, all the things that are on there are things that could be part of bond issue. Now, as I mentioned in my notes, the fire truck's going to come up under committee of the whole, and I'd like to talk about that separately there rather than here. But I did show the fire truck there. I show you building maintenance items, infrastructure items. The only thing I'm not sure about is whether the bird sanctuary would be something that you would consider a bond issue. I would say probably not, but because it obviously is a piece of land that has a long life, it could theoretically be.
We haven't had a firm proposal of all the details of what that will cost yet. They're still at the exploratory stage, so I think that would be premature at this time.
Okay, I also put under the second page recreation line items that are in the plan that could be considered bond issue. And then there were a couple of other potential things, if you look right here where I'm highlighting it, whoops, right there, that possibly could be long-lived items. The fuel pump replacement would only be if you had to do a full and complete replacement. Right now, we're just doing maintenance on it. So that would only be if you needed a full replacement, that you'd have a long-lived item. The general maintenance and repair for the garage, that's something that theoretically, again, could be, but that's also general maintenance. So, depending on what you do there, let's say you put windows in or something, that's going to have a long life. It depends on what kind of maintenance you're doing. Various fences at various locations there are in there now in the capital plan, and those certainly should last 15 years. Playground equipment replacement, if you did any of that at any park, I don't have any special request there or any suggestion other than the fact that we do note playground possible for the rec lodge at some point. And then under capital 2, this is not in the capital budget, it's in the corrective action budget. Down the road, when you need to replace the sewer Vector truck, assuming you do it with Wilkins, again, that's up to you. I'm not getting into that right now, but that is something that would definitely be a long-lived item. And if, depending on repairs that are needed to the volunteer fire department building, that certainly could be. But these things on the second page that I'm highlighting here, whoops, at the bottom, they're all things that are not necessarily part of the capital plan, but that could be part of the bond issue, depending on where you're going with it. So again, these are things you need to take a look at. Now realize you have 3 years to spend 85% of that money. We're only in the first year right now. And I don't think it's stupid to even suggest that it won't take you more than a month to spend $500,000 if you really put your mind to it. And if you can't, believe me, I could. So I don't think you need to rush into deciding which projects. You want to start deciding, but I don't think you need to right now decide. You need to look at these things and see if there's other things you want to consider. So I just want to mention that I gave everybody this handout to try to make it easier to identify items that are in the current capital plan that could possibly be bond issue items depending on your choice.
Okay, I would like to know where we will stand on the solar array balance, and if that falls within the 5 years. I think it will. I wanted to know how much the balance will be on the remaining. I know we're putting money aside each month because we're putting the savings into a separate budget, but I don't know how much that is going to be reaching by the time we get to the point where we can make a decision to take it over.
If I can stop sharing for a minute,
Yeah.
I can look up, I think, I have the treasurer's numbers from, I guess, last month, probably. And in there, oh, wait a minute, no, I don't have it. She must not have done it yet for this year. I'll pull up the end of 20.
It isn't on my list, Steve, so I don't think she has it yet.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It isn't on my sheet. I don't think she has it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't see it either, but
That's the only thing that's not on this list that I would like to think about, that we don't have already in consideration, because
Actually, I thought I did put solar array on there. Maybe
it
I
is
didn't.
not. It is not on here.
Oh, I'm just looking to see December financials. Oops, that's the wrong one. Hold on one second. December disbursements, December financials. No, I don't. I don't have her. Let me look one more place before we end. It'll only take me a few seconds. But I thought she did give me December and January. No, I guess she didn't.
No, I
Well,
don't.
oh, and here it is. Yeah, in December, in the solar, the money that was put aside for solar, we have in there $202,000 right now, as of the end of the year, end of 2020, 202,000.
Yeah. So by the time we get to the end of the power purchase agreement, we may actually have enough in that fund to pay for them outright.
Yeah, we've been essentially,
Yeah,
we've been putting in surpluses
Yeah,
at the end of every year into it. So we haven't done that for 2020. I'd have to talk to Wendy. But
Yeah.
when you saw that cash flow, 500-some thousand, if let's say that held after all the changes and corrections, then some of that or all of that could go towards solar technically. But we usually don't put all of it there because you need to have some buffer.
Okay.
But I thought I did have that on my budget on the report that I gave you.
I didn't find it, but that's all right. We can catch it later. Okay, that was the only other item I thought might be in the mix for consideration there, in the bond issue funding. So if anyone has any suggestions or additions, we don't have to make a decision about this month, but I think before May, I would like to do it by May or so, at least for this year's amounts. Okay.
Okay. So I will keep this issue on the agenda, and I will, again, just in case, since it's all electronic anyway, include the bond issue spreadsheet that I have given you already.
Okay.
For April. So as you start making decisions, you can do that. You can start piece by piece or do a massive thing. It's up to you.
Well, there may be some issues that come up that we may want to deal with as we get into the evaluation of our building upgrades for climate action. We may want to put some money aside to deal with those. And we don't know what those are just yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything else on this agenda for consideration that anyone wanted to bring up? Okay.
No?
All right, then thank you
All
very
right.
much, Steve.
I just need a few seconds to go to committee of the whole, so if you'd hold on for me a minute, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Tomasic, I am good for committee of the whole if you're okay. We have first folks from Action Housing, and they're sitting in our attendee list here. So I'm going to, I know Mr. Costa is somebody we were talking with here, so I'm going to promote him to panelist. And Mr. Costa, are you there? You should be able to talk to us now. Do you need to have the screen shared, or does somebody else need to be active?
So I will need to screen share, but then Allison Holtz, I don't know what, hopefully that's her name there, but yeah, she should be, her audio should be unlocked. She was going to go through and then I was going to share the screen if that's possible.
Okay, Allison, her audio is unlocked. Is that it? Just you two?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to allow you to share the screen here in a minute. I'm sorry, that takes me a little while to go through all this stuff here.
That's okay, take your time.
Am I good, Joe? Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, we're good.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share
So
right now, I think.
excuse me, Steve, we have two other people.
Yeah, should they be on here to talk?
Yes, our architect.
Mr. McLean?
Yes, Mr. McLean, and our board member, design committee, Michael Jen.
Okay, I have them both, allowed them to talk. I have
Great.
Mr. Costa as a panelist, so he can share his screen.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
You guys see the PowerPoint here?
yes.
Okay, all right. So thanks for taking time to meet with us today. I'm Joe Costa with Action Housing. I think some of you might be familiar with our company, but we're a local nonprofit real estate developer. We do a lot of affordable housing projects and also social service provider for Allegheny County and Southwestern Pennsylvania. We also are the property owner at 1844 Ardmore Boulevard and another senior apartment building also along Ardmore, closer to Taco Bell. I don't have the address off the top of my head, but we like working with you guys. And we actually met the Operation Valor Arts group through Leadership Pittsburgh. They had an initiative that dealt with veterans about 2 or 3 years ago. So we were initially connected then, and we've been working on this project for over 2 years. And just to make you guys familiar, this is an older picture, but basically at the corner of Ardmore and Braddock Road, at the corner there, right now there's a grassy patch and a nicer looking building, which kind of looks like this. But basically our plan is to work with Operation Valor Arts and install a sculpture kind of along closer to those bushes if you look to the right in the grassy side on the right there. But Allison Holtz, she is the executive director of Operation Valor Arts. She's going to really explain this project more in depth. Also, Michael Jen is on the line here, and he's an Operation Valor Arts board member and part of the design committee. Lastly, we have Dave McLean, who is our architect for the project. He's been very helpful and included some drawings and is available for questions at the end. So with that, I'll let Allison take over.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Forest Hills. I want to tell you a little bit about our organization, Operation Valor Arts. Our mission is to secure veterans training and resources to design and construct interpretive public art. This is as a means to process and interpret their experience of war, engage collaboratively with fellow service members to accomplish a new mission on the home front, and to connect with opportunities in design, art design, and technology fields. So I want to begin by stating that we do not create memorials, but interpretive public sculpture, which invites understanding as opposed to memorialization. So here you see our veteran design team. We are in the atrium of the building veteran housing at 1844 Ardmore. So the way we operate is we assemble a team of veterans. And in the case of Forest Hills, we were very fortunate to work with the veterans who are also residents there. We aim for a group of approximately 10 to 12 veterans. And we also invite families of veterans to assist the team, as well as Gold Star family members. And if you're not familiar with that team, Gold Star family members have lost a soldier or a veteran. So there, you'll see a large piece of a large piece of paper in the background, and that is a component of the model, which I'm going to briefly describe. So our next slide, we have our artist facilitator, our lead artist, Karen Mintzmoyer, working with the veteran design team. Now, because we don't require every veteran to be an artist, we have a lead artist who provides them education and guides them through every step of the basic the design process. And so Karen initially began educating the veterans with three-dimensional design. And here she is, if you'll see those little pieces of paper on the wall, we use a program called Human-Centered Design. And so this program facilitates strategic thinking with the team studying the site, the traffic patterns, the scale of the surrounding area, and other critical design factors. Next slide. So this is a steel cutout. And if you saw, I mentioned a big piece of paper. So this steel cutout is 10 feet tall. And we are going to be incorporating the shape, we'll call it the leftover shape, the positive shape that came out of this. And I'll explain. One of our team members is a member of our Gold Star family. This cutout represents the late Staff Sergeant Michelle Langhorse. So her sister Nicole Langhorse, a member of our team, offered to give us this steel piece, the positive shape, which was part of a larger art installation in the Midwest. So next slide. Okay, so here's the next couple of slides just represent some of the work. Here's a group of residents at the Ardmore Boulevard working on the project. Next slide, Joe. Another group with Karen, our lead artist. Next slide. And there's Joe himself. Joe was involved in every step of the process, and we greatly appreciated the Action Housing representation. Okay. And as the group worked to narrow down exactly what they wanted, you'll see that little tree. And in the next slide, that little tree became the basis for our sculpture model. And here it is. So if you'll notice, we incorporated at the bottom of the tree, and of course, Forest Hills is the city of trees. We incorporated that soldier cutout, and you can see the canopy of leaves are actually made of small dog tags. Next slide. And we have a couple more. This shows the scale of the piece. Now we built the piece large enough to be able to incorporate that steel cutout. So if you're questioning the maintenance of the piece, it's weathered steel. The canopy, the leaf canopy is stainless steel. This will require no maintenance. And we are also providing 2 benches for that corner. Do we have one more, or are we done? Yeah, this one more 3/4 view. And I think we're done with my end, and I'd like to turn this over to Dave McLean, our architect. He has 2 drawings, and he's going to run through some of the technical aspects of the sculptural and the sculpture's integrity.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? I don't know if is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay, great, thanks. Yes, so the drawing, the first drawing is the site plan, and the placement is on that front corner where Ardmore and Braddock meet at that that intersection. And yeah, if we can get that maybe up just a little higher there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why it's looking a little funny, but yeah, basically, if you can imagine, Ardmore Boulevard is just down below here.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit cut off down there, but so there's a PennDOT right away that comes through there, right there. Yes, so we are on the out of the right of way with the placement of this. And that sculpture then, like you saw in those photographic renderings, is placed right on that spot. So what we were asked to do is take the design and apply to it the architectural and engineering work that needed to be done to design the foundation and the structure for this. And it's a pretty simple concrete foundation. It's roughly 6 foot by 4 foot 4 inch foundation. It then has a concrete pier that comes up. There's rebar, steel rebar in there. And then there are base plates, and there are 2 steel angles that come up off of there. And they form the posts that come up. You see the details that we have here. And those 2 plates of steel that form the tree, one on either side of the channels, so that those channels are encased inside the space between the 2 tree sections. And then that soldier profile is attached to the public side, the street side of the 1 tree plate. And that is the soldier is 1/2 inch steel. The tree plates are 1/2 inch steel. And all that has been engineered for structure and for wind load and for all those things, so that the structure is sound. And it's like I say, it's a fairly simple footing, and it is placed approximately 5 feet below grade. And then that assembly, that pier and the steel come up off of it, and then the plates and the connection are below grade, in that we're calling for a mulch bed around the bottom of it, so that mulch bed then provides a cover for all of that. But in the event that anything would ever have to be checked over the years or tightened or anything like that, that they would be able to get at that without any excavation. So that's really the summary. The height is approximately 17 feet, the height from grade to the top. And then the width, if you see it straight on, from this dimension, is about 14 feet, 13.5 feet actually from right to left, as you see the profile of the branches. And you can see the scale of it is such that, much like with a real tree, you're able to sit in the image of sitting underneath the branches of it. Those boughs that form the upper part of the tree are off the ground approximately 10 feet, because as we said, that soldier profile is about 10 feet in height.
And I will add that we do plan to install low voltage landscape lighting to illuminate it at night.
And that won't have any effect on the roots of the existing real tree, right? You're far enough away from it that won't be interfering with that, right?
I'm pretty sure it should, because that concern was raised whenever we did the apartment project, and
Yeah.
I know they did some work where those cars are in the parking
Yep.
lot. But yeah, we did express that concern, because I know that that's a major concern, to make sure that this is not affecting the original tree.
Yeah.
And we're pretty confident it shouldn't, but I mean, I don't see why we couldn't study that further if need be, but we didn't have any issues so far with a larger, closer excavation.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't know, I guess, if you guys had any questions or concerns. I know this isn't.
There's a question in the chat. Is there a risk during a lightning storm? Is there a way? Will this be a lightning strike hazard?
Good question.
Maybe Dave can answer that.
Yeah, I don't know of any particular reason that it would be, more so than you can see like a typical light pole beside it. But it's a legitimate question. I think we could look into it.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure that we address it if there's something that we should do with that, because I don't think we've been asked that to date.
Yeah, that's a good point. We never even thought of. Oh, I see a hand raised.
Yeah. Well, that would be grounded, wouldn't it? I mean, you're talking about going 5 or 6 feet down into the ground.
Yeah.
And the rods that you're talking about, I think you mentioned plates that come up and that the tree function on both sides is attached to. So if lightning were to hit that, it would simply be directed straight down into the ground, I believe. And I'm certain that anybody, if there's a storm, you wouldn't want to be standing underneath a metal tree.
Anyway.
I think that is taken into consideration with how it is structured. My own opinion.
Definitely something we can look into, though.
It's not the tallest structure in the area, because the light post is taller, and there's a power line right there, which is also taller.
A selective lightning. I can't see the chat myself, but are there any other questions or concerns?
I don't see any others, other than I would like to have a way to contact you about some other matters related to things in our business district. If you could leave me your email.
Yes, yeah.
Thank
And I guess, would we do that? Let me see.
You can either put it in the chat or send it to me.
Okay, got it. Okay, I can do that.
I do want to add that Operation Valor Arts has waited. Obviously, we need the approval. We need the go-ahead from the Borough Council, but we are really looking forward to connecting with the businesses, the library, the schools in Forest Hills, and letting them know about our efforts to work with veterans. And yeah, we're available for any kind of presentation where you feel will be helpful.
Thank you.
Well, so I don't think there's going to be any opposition to this going in. Do we have to actually do this at a meeting by a voice vote? I assume, Mr. Morris, Mr. Corbel?
Oh, I think you're still muted.
I defer to Mr. Corbel.
Well, I mean, I think if council wants to move forward, I would request that they submit something to ensure that's not within the setbacks, et cetera, just to give them sort of a occupancy or zoning permit, et cetera. I mean, looking at our ordinance, we really do not have any regulations from a zoning perspective related to art, sculptures, et cetera. So I would just consider this to be an accessory structure, if you will, to the building that would have to adhere to the area and height and bulk regulations in the district. I think it's in the S2 district, if I remember correctly. So that's all I'd want to make sure of. And then if council's okay with it, we can just do it through a permitting perspective. We don't even have to vote on it. I mean, there are major objections and council wants to say we don't want this, then we should tell them now. But I'm not so sure we have much to say in it, quite frankly.
Well, all I was stating is I would like to go on the record as they came to us, and I would like to recommend an approval of it. As to the logistics, of course, we have to make sure it fits everything in terms of the setback, et cetera. But as you can see, I believe they followed that on the diagram.
It looked that way, yes.
So if there's something specific, you could contact our building inspector or through Mr. Morse and just give the outline of everything, where it's going to be, et cetera. And as Mr. Corbel said, it would be approved by, I think that would be the building inspector or the zoning officer, one of the two.
Yeah, zoning.
But I would just like to bring it up and I don't know, other than simply saying that we would love to approve this. I think it's a fantastic piece of sculpture.
Thank you.
I would just like to be on the record as saying that we are in favor of this group who presented it. Give the name, et cetera, and mention it at council.
We're all in favor of public art, right?
You could certainly vote on something like that, Mr. Tomasky. That's okay.
Well, then I'd like to put it on the agenda for the 24th.
I'll put it on for a voice vote under planning and zoning, probably, I guess, would make the most sense.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Joe, you're clear on next steps?
Yeah, I'll probably reach back out to could just confer with Mr. Morris if that's okay. But yeah, it's sounding like on our end, we'll do some homework on the lightning strike just to be safe. And then also maybe reach out to the borough, as they said, to make sure that, because I know of me personally and as the property owner is that we are abiding by setbacks and things like that. And we reached out to PennDOT, or at least I did, over a year ago before COVID. And we didn't have a ton of pushback or anything, but I do want to confirm with them also that they're clear, because they are right next door. And although we're not near their little culvert thing, just out of a courtesy, we want to make sure that they don't come in and rip it up someday because they didn't know about it.
Well, they do have a pipe that runs underneath there all the way from one side to the other and then underneath the highway. And that's where they use that right away in order to access that.
And I think we're clear of that. I'm going to double check some notes, but
That's further toward Braddock.
yes, yeah, that was what the drawings showed. But yeah, we should be fine for doing something later this month, which I'm pretty confident Allison is fine with that too.
So thank you, everybody, for your support and your excellent taste in sculpture. We really appreciate that. We hope this is going to have a great impact on the community, and it's something everybody will be proud of.
What is your timing for doing this?
Well, we're engaged in fundraising for the project. It's our goal, if we can make it, to have this completed by the end of the year.
And what is your budget? How much do you need to raise?
We need to raise about 30,000. We've raised about half, a little less than half, and we're confident that we can pull this off.
Do you want to put it in the Tree City Times?
Yes.
Okay. Their deadline is April 2nd. Would you get in touch with me and I'll help you with that?
Yes, Joe, I am in touch with Mr. Morris, and so I can ask him for your contact information. Okay. Yes, we're gonna look forward to getting this information out to the entire community.
Okay.
I guess if there's nothing else that I could stop sharing, I'm assuming, but
yes.
Okay. Well, thank you again for having us. We appreciate you guys taking time, and look forward to talking more in depth soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night. Okay. Back to manager's update here. I'm sorry. Just want to make sure everything's gone here. Okay. The second item I have is on Duquesne Light and their program to change lights to LED. You had asked me if I would provide you with a copy of their list of lights so that you would be able to see where they are contiguous, so you can make a decision. And I gave you this in an email. It's kind of a condensed version of what they sent me. And you can take a look at what kind of light is where by just going up here to lamp type. And if you want to see where we've already put LED, just select the LED choices and it will bring those up. You'll see that mainly Ardmore, Braddock, and Greensburg Pike. I don't know why Kennedy Avenue is showing here for us. I don't know. That must be either that's a name they have for the swimming pool, or what do you call it, driveway, or it's something else that they added without intention. In any case, you can take a look at that if you want. Now, I'd asked Jim Thielacker if he had a recommendation, because he'd helped me with this in the past, and he had suggested Fillmore Road may be a possibility. But I need to have a decision from you by the at least by the May committee meeting, so that I can send the paperwork into Duquesne Light, and also I have to double check poll numbers, which is one of those things you have to do kind of by walking around. It's not a big deal. I mean, I could get somebody to show for me, but I'm not going to do that. It doesn't take that long. So I just need you to take a look at where you might recommend. Either use that list, or if you want to use Jimmy's recommendation, that's up to you. But if you don't have a decision tonight or want to think about it, I will stick it on committee of the whole again next month. Mr. Tomasic.
I'd like Jimmy's suggestion. That would be a nice tie-in running from Ardmore Boulevard up to Greensburg Pike, where we already have a series of lights coming down towards the municipal building. I like Jimmy's suggestion.
They only say 10 are going to be allowed, although you can ask them for more. But right now they only are allowing 10, so we'll have to see. If they would do that, I would start at Ardmore, I guess, and go up, if that's okay.
Yep.
Rather than from Greensburg Pike.
Do we know how many we have left to do? It seems like we have a good bit of the town already on that.
Well, if you look at that list, there's a lot there.
There's a lot yet.
I mean, it's I can show you that again. Somebody wants
Steve.
Say something?
Yeah, Steve. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anyone, but I reviewed the list in depth, and it looked like to me there was only 3 streets that would qualify. I found it looked like Barclay over towards the New Borough building. It looked like Atlantic and Fillmore. But I'm okay if that's Jimmy's recommendation. But those are the 3 streets that I found whenever I looked through the list.
Yeah, and Bill, you're right, but you could also do it like around a corner or something if you need to on some of the short streets, as long as the lights are contiguous. If they move from, like, let's say Avenue K to Avenue A, you know, for example, you could do that.
I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was 3 or 10 contiguous on the same street. If that's the case, we obviously have more, but those were the ones that I found that had over 10.
Okay, that's good. So if you're okay with that, then I would put a voice vote motion on for Fillmore Road under one of the committees. I'm not sure. I guess Borough Property probably, to vote to do that for the LED program at the March meeting, if you're okay with that. Are there any objections?
Fine with me, Chuck. Fine with me.
Okay, I'm going to just make a note here to vote on March 24th. And then 2 other notes. One is a little bit involved, not terribly involved, but PennDOT sent us a letter about the work they're going to be doing on Ardmore Boulevard, and I included that with your handout, and this is the map that's part of that shows what they're doing for Ardmore. The 3 culverts here near Newport, here at the main park, as we know, because that's the one we got the money for to go over to Ryan Glen. And down here near, was that Marion Avenue near the old municipal building, across over to Roman Bistro. If you remember, Roman Bistro was going to lose some parking spaces rather, when they were working on this, and may even lose 1 or 2 permanently. In any case, they gave you a detailed letter that just came. So we've kind of had this information before, but it just came today or yesterday, I forget when, and I wanted to give it to you right away so you'd see. But the letter is attached, and I asked Angelo to place it on the website so residents would know, and I sent it to the fire department, the police department, and the EMS so that they'd be aware. If I'm missing somebody else, let me know. But in any case, they wanted to make sure people were aware, and it does look like they're going to go ahead of this. If you remember, Mr. Gilliland had indicated that he wasn't sure because PennDOT was looking for money, but I believe they found some money for some of this work. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that. They also mentioned in there the times and their work schedule, hours they'd like to work, etc. I think they meet fairly closely to what we usually require, but in the past, PennDOT has kind of ignored things anyway, and their contractors have too. But it sounded like most of what they were going to be doing at night was mainly paving type work, which would still be some machinery, but not as heavy as actually tunneling and going underground, etc. And if I remember correctly, the culverts are going to require them to dig up, not just to tunnel. And they're going to have, of course, what am I trying to say here? Crossovers, so that all the traffic will be on one side of the road or the other throughout this. So you can take a look at the letter. I just want to make sure you're aware of it. If anybody wants to talk more about it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm not going to say anything more about it unless we get more information from PennDOT. They are working with our engineer. They've been sending me letters, by the way, and they've been getting information from the engineer. And by the way, there was a resolution related to this that I had Mr. Tomasic sign. If you remember, you approved it. They need to amend it or something. They made a mistake on it somewhere, so I have to get them to sign it again. I don't think it needs reapproved from what he was telling me. I'll make sure of that though. If it does, I'll put it on an agenda. But I just think once I get it, I'll just give it to Mr. Tomasic to sign, and that'll be all we need to do. Anybody have any questions? My last item, we were just notified today, and it's in the newspaper or media or whatever, that we have been named again a banner community by ALOM. I mentioned that this was going to happen a while back, and I told you that one of the things I was going to do was invest a little bit of the borough's money supporting LGA's programs, and that allows us to also have free access to their training online and things like that. It was only a couple $100. It wasn't a lot of money. Their leadership circle. So that's one of the things that shows that we are staying in this banner protocol that they have. I'm sure they'll want to do more eventually, but that's all I have. If you don't have any questions for me.
And being an LGA gave us an intern as well, so we'll be getting a hold of an intern sometime soon, right?
Right. And Angelo and Mr. Lawrence are both working on that.
Right.
And then I'll be supervising that person. But and so will Angelo may also as well, because technically he's been working on our website and has been at least a part-time employee doing that. So he'll be able to. They prefer to not have elected officials as supervisors. That's part of the rules they have as part of this program. I don't have anything else, Mr. Tomasic. I'm through.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morris. Solicitors report, Mr. Corbel.
Thank you, Mr. Tomasic. There's a couple things on the agenda that Mr. Morris, I think, wanted me to address. The Silversmith weight limit issue. We're just waiting for, I'm personally waiting for, and I think you all are too, Mr. Gilliland to complete the review of that. If the report comes back in a particular manner and we have to change the weight limits or other restrictions on that road, we'll have to do so by ordinance. So that's in the offing. The only other ordinance upcoming is the fill ordinance that we are advertising for consideration on the 24th. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gorbel.
Certainly.
I have a couple of items I want to discuss on number 3 with the Roman Bistro. I want to make a clarification on what was said by Mr. Roman concerning the his request for a crosswalk. He said we denied it. Yeah, we did, but I would just like to add that when this was proposed at a meeting, it was sent to our engineer to take a look at what the request was, and the determination was that it would not be permitted. And also that there was a modern state-of-the-art crosswalk, a very safe crosswalk, about 30 feet to the corner, and that would be the recommended use. So it's not as if we simply denied it out of hand. It was investigated, and I believe that that was the right decision. I think that if we were to put anything in that was not permissible and someone were to get injured or hurt, that we would be in a tremendous bit of legal jeopardy. Secondly, he also mentioned that he mentioned to a couple of council members that he was digging into the hillside. I would just like to suggest to him and anybody else that that's really not due diligence. If you are going to be doing something that involves ordinances, you should be contacting the borough and not talking to a couple of councilmen. Okay, so that's all I have to say. I just wanted to clear those two up because I didn't have access at the time, but you can find that information in the August 6th and then the August 11th meetings, committee meetings of 2020. Okay. And that takes us to number 4, the VFD truck purchase. I will start out by saying that I believe that everybody on council is in favor of moving forward on this. And there's a couple of items that we have to put into place. We have some time before we have to actually make the determination on the borrowing of the money and the interest rates. That being said, Mr. Morse, if you would please give us an outline of what we should be doing and some of the simple decisions we have to make as a council here.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself there. I wanted to share my screen because after looking at what the fire department gave us, I wanted to suggest that this 15-year with the cash down to me makes the most sense, and let me tell you why and how. And I'll tell you a few other things along with it. First, the cash down of 10%, 91,000 plus, that's a perfect use for the bond issue. Perfect for a couple of reasons. One, because it's definitely a 15-year truck. I mean, it's going to be around, probably it might even exceed the bond issue ending. Two, it takes some pressure off of the fire fee in that if you notice, assuming this all holds the 2.94% interest rate, it takes it down to $69,009 a year. So you save about $1,000 out of the fire fee by doing that. You have to pay it one way or another anyway, and everybody seems like they want to do this. So why not put the cash down? I wouldn't even consider the other options. I mean, if you wanted to consider 10-year, you could, but I don't think that payment amount here, $96,000, is realistic to take from the fire fee. This way, you're not taxing the fire fee. Taxing is not a good word, I guess. You're not hurting the fire fee. It's actually saving some money. It may prevent you or influence you to not increase it any further in the years to come. So I think the first thing I'd want to say is that's what I would suggest. It works perfectly, and you don't have to adjust the fire fee to do it. The second thing, if you notice my arrow, the 2.9, I'm sorry, somebody have a question? No, the 2.94% interest rate is good until April 3rd. So you can approve this on March 24th if you want. There's a couple of things that are good about that. Well, first, it's a 5-year rate. I talked to this Tracy Charis today. It's a 5-year rate, but she does claim that her bank usually does not increase the rate after those 5 years. we have started looking at some alternatives, and all of them are pretty similar in that they have a limited amount of time that they will give you a guaranteed rate, and then it becomes variable. So this one is as good as any. The interest rates that we found from some others, just some preliminary looking, were pretty close to that. They may have dropped by like 0.05%, a little bit better. So the other thing that's good about this is if you have time to approve it on March 24th, and we do, you don't have to do anything right away or quickly, because this rate's good to April 3rd. And the quote from the truck company, Glick, is good for 90 days from when we got it. So you have plenty of time to approve that. You have also some time then, if you'd like, for Wendy Archer, our treasurer, to take a little look further at whether we can get a slightly better rate at K-State Bank, where we've done other borrowing, or someplace else. And if we can see what the terms are. If not, you have something that's pretty solid with which to go on. So that's my recommendation. I think everything fits nicely. If anybody sees any holes there, let me know, but that's what I would suggest.
I would recommend we act on it, on the 91,000 bond issue and the 15 years.
Okay, so Patty's referring to, if you look at the 2 pages, that would be page 2.
It's the
on
one
the
that's on the
right-hand
screen.
column under 15 years, correct?
Yeah, the one that's on the screen right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that makes our first year payment is a lower number, and we will be locking in that rate for 5 years. And I think it has all the advantages that Mr. Morris said. I think we should just go ahead and do it. I mean, it holds until the 3rd of March. We're not going to meet again after March 24th. We'd have to have a special meeting if we were going to take advantage of that. And I think this makes sense.
The other thing I like about this, just so you know, is that unlike other banks, after the 5-year rate is up, they let you negotiate without a penalty. Some banks, if you want to renegotiate the loan or go to another source, charge you an interest penalty or something like that. But she said that they do not do that. Now, not everybody does, of course, but some banks do. So I just thought that's another positive that makes this work.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anybody opposed to basically what we've stated there, the path we're going to go down? So, I'm sorry. Everybody okay?
No. Yeah, I was just saying, I think we're good on that front to move forward.
Okay, so just to review very quickly, it's going to be the 15-year loan. It's going to be the cash down at 10%, and that money is going to come out of the bond issue, correct?
Right.
Okay, so those are the conditions that we're all agreeing to. So that then I guess all we should do is have a motion for the March 24th meeting to approve that under public safety.
I'll do that.
Okay, that being said, it's a very positive note for me. I don't see anything else that we have to discuss. So I guess that concludes our meeting.
Okay, I'm going to press end meeting for everybody then. Good night. See you on the 24th.
Thank you all.
March 24th is later, don't forget. Good night.
Enjoy Pelrust, Steve.